I will give one incident. This is all of you who have assembled here, all of you. Remember this incident. 1979, SLV-3 satellite launch vehicle, I was the project director, mission director. My mission is to put the satellite in the orbit. Thousands of people worked nearly 10 years. I reached the Sriharikota and it's in the launch pad. Countdown was going on. T minus 4 minutes, T minus 5 minutes, T minus 1 minute, T minus 40 seconds. Computer put a hold, don't launch it. Computer says don't launch it. I am the mission director, I have to take a decision. Everything is on. Behind me there are 6 experts. They saw data, computer database coming in and screen, and they see the pictures in the screen. They said there's a problem. The problem is there's a leakage in a system, in the control system. But immediately calculation, no problem. We have got sufficient fuel and oxidation for control system. It controls the rocket to the required attitude, and we can go ahead. Now, of course, my expert's view, but I took the decision. Problem is mine. Finally, I took a decision. I bypassed the computer. I launched the system. Okay, I launched the system. This fellow went. First stage worked is a 4-stage rocket, and second stage got mad. It went to spin. Instead of putting the satellite in the orbit, it put in the Bay of Bengal. 1979, it was a failure. It was a failure. First time I experienced my failure. How do you manage the failure? Success I can manage. So at that time, a great man, a great leader, Professor Satish Dhawan, he comes to me, I'm very tired working nearly for months. He wakes me up, come, let us go for a press conference. Press is meeting there, like this, number of people, world press, with photos, this and that, all the gadgets they are there. I was really frightened, I will be the culprit, because I am the project director, mission director. What Satish Dhawan said, chairman, Indian Space Research Organization, said, dear friends, we have failed today. It's the first time I have to give all the success, all the failure is, I want to support my technologists and scientists and staff so that next year they succeed. So he took the whole blame himself. And then media asked, you have put Bay of Bengal so many crores, you have put it. Like that, a lot of criticism. He received the criticism. He assured them in a year we will succeed with our team. It's a very good team. Next year, here only interesting happened. Next year, July 18th, 1980, when he succeeded, Professor Dhawan said, you go and conduct the press conference. Do you follow what this means? It means when the failure occurred, the leader took it up. When the success came, he gives to his team. That's the first. In the morning, I'm coming from a 22nd Children's Science Congress in Mumbai University campus. I was there in the morning. I was discussing with a group of children, and one boy asked me, Kalam, I have read that your home at Rameshwaram is solar powered. Of course, the boy says, of course, clean, but it's costly. And also, is it safe? And he asked me this question. I answered, necessity drove me to see my home is powered 24 hours. Because my brother is, just few days back, he became 98. And 98 man, you know, I have to, he should live comfortably. And the home should be comfortable. He should not experience power shortage. That's why I went for solar power. Yeah, 3 kilowatt capacity. And of course, first 2 years the requirement of power was very high. Now after 3 years of operation, we have put LED type lighting and hence the power consumption has come down. And what I am proposing to all of you, friends, is a mega program to make India get away from costly fossil fuel towards solar power, solar free power, only 8 hours free power. You can do it 24 hours also if you put a solar power satellite at geosynchronous orbit, 30,000 kilometers above the earth. Now what I am proposing to you, friends, is a mega program to make India go away from costly fossil fuel, what we are spending nearly $70 to $100 billion, and towards solar power. Of course, microgrid will be used in every street and even villages, and then exclusive solar power grid will emerge. So I visualize in a decade to 15 years time, India should become all her 200 million houses. You know, each house 5 people, father, mother, 3 children minimum. So I have vision that 200 million houses should be solar powered. When I am here with you, engineering students and professors from IIT Bombay and other engineering colleges from India, I thought of sharing a thought with all of you. Friends, as you all know, India is the emerging economic entity. One day, in a few years, it will come economic entity. Even is a third place it has got in the purchasing power. Our per capita energy consumption currently stands as 565 kilogram oil equivalent. Kg is called KGOE. That is 565 kilogram oil equivalent. This is a figure which is expected to increase significantly with the economic expansion and economic growth in the country. If we compare developed economies, then an average US citizen consumes 7,000 kgoe, 14 times of an Indian. An average UAE citizen consumes 8,000 kgoe, 16 times of the Indian. And an average Singapore citizen consumes 6,000 kgoe, 12 times that of an Indian. Hence, it is clear that in the near future, our energy demand will significantly increase. While it may not reach the level of developed world, it will certainly increase by a factor at least 5 times. In such a scenario, how will you ensure that the future energy needs are met in a green and clean way? What should be our innovation, ideas for such a mission? Let me discuss one such an idea. The mission could be the domain of home-based solar panel, where close to 200 million Indian households can be used to unleash the potential of solar power in the nation. With the highest solar irradiation among the BRICS nation, India can emerge as a leading emerging nation relying on the power plants based on the individual houses. This mission can even go to the rural areas, which are off the grid and usually single floor, hence with the ample rooftop space. We need next generation entrepreneurs who can create a new thatching technology which can integrate rooftop solar generation and collection. My expert friends tell me that rooftop-based solar power is an opportunity worth of $100 billion and with a potential generate of 100 gigawatt of additional power within the next half a decade, enough to meet all our additional power demand. Let us go even step further. We can create a national mission for electric powered vehicles, EPV, which can be charged at homes using the energy from solar panel. In this way, if each house can charge one vehicle, we can save 140 million liters of petrol. Are built in the nations.
Friends, when our inputs are international, when our outputs are also international, it is time to think. Rural development is an international regional agenda. I would like to consider it a regional agenda. I am happy that CIRDAP is doing this task, and today I will be focusing on this agenda. I am indeed delighted to deliver 33rd Foundation Day lecture at Center on Integrated Rural Development for Asia Pacific at Dhaka. My greetings to all the ministers, parliamentarians, officials, diplomats, experts and guests from different nations present here. When I am here with all of you, I would like to share my thoughts on the topic Sustainable Development System for Asia Pacific. Sustainable Development System for Asia Pacific. I am glad to know that CIRDAP has the mission of being an intergovernmental organization mandated to facilitate the provision of services that will influence a policy formulation and program action towards rural development, poverty elimination through a network of CIRDAP countries. CIRDAP countries have several core competencies, and every country has a vision to become a developed nation in a time-bound manner, like Bangladesh has got by 2021 got a digital Bangla. So it looks to be India has got vision, India 2020 vision for prosperity and peace by 2020. So let us now focus on some of them which can be collectively pooled as a mutual benefit. Afghanistan is endowed with natural resources such as untapped oil and natural gas, minerals and metals, and animal husbandry resources such as sheep, lamb, wool in substantial quantities. Bangladesh has the core competence in utilizing biodiversity, mobilizing water resources and value addition bamboo, jute and marine products. Iran is known for its energy resources such as rich culture, law, and Vietnam is recognized one of the rising economies with richly skilled people. India over the years has established itself well in IT and e-connectivity. Philippines has a global name in the area of hospitality, nursing and care. Nepal, Fiji and Thailand for their tourism and industry. Pakistan has created a name for itself, cotton, textile, apparel and also Bangladesh. Sri Lanka is known for tea and rubber processing. Myanmar is known for precious stones, particularly these. Malaysia is known for fruits and vegetables forming global standards. Let us see how these national competitive advantages can be harnessed for accelerating the transformation of the region as a whole, also address the challenges faced by the global community. What are the global challenges? Today the challenges in some part of the world are poverty, illiteracy, need of safe drinking water, clean and green energy, equitable distribution of resources, a quality education with value for all, overcoming societal imbalances, and curing diseases, quality healthcare for all, and good living conditions. Individual nations like India, Bangladesh, and many CIRDAP nations, individual nations are working to find a solution to these challenges. However, we are clearly witnessing the challenges faced by the nation are not only of their making, or the solution amenable to only by the individual nations. There are many international dimensions for the cause and solutions. Hence, working for solution is a collective responsibility of the global community or regional community. When nations start working on the common enemies of illiteracy, poor health, their tendency to focus on national, regional, global peace with better mutual trust enabled. The global challenges take various manifestations based on the local dynamics which are interconnected of various factors. I have studied them. Let us look at the dynamics of these manifestations. The world today is integrally connected through four rapid activities. They are environment, people, economy and ideas. We all know that global warming and climate change are no longer a problem of individual nations. They are planetary problems. In the present time, a single product may be made out of components sourced from multiple continents and provide services to markets far off from their place of origin. We also saw how the economic turbulence originated in one part of the globe, even now shaking the whole world. The world today is concerned with growing inflationary pressures, recessions, and potential fall in growth rate, affecting valuable efforts on development. We witnessed how a volcanic eruption in an island country in Europe brought the entire airline industry and more than 5,000 commercial flights to a halt, and recent earthquake followed by tsunami have changed the concept of safety, security of an island nation. At the same time, advances in transportation have progressively made movement of people across the nation and region more feasible. This has led to globalization of expertise, talents, which can flow seamlessly from one nation to another. This also has led to the globalization of human diseases, the most recent instance being of a different kinds of flu which rapidly spread across the globe and threatened the entire humankind. Similarly, ideas and innovation are no longer geographically or politically confined. An invention made today somewhere takes no time to find its market thousands of miles away. The expansion of information communication technology and the convergence of technologies are structuring the new world knowledge, where problem of one part of the world could be solved by multiple experts based at different points of the globe. Seamless flow of information and people also means the total regional issues will invariably gain global prominence, and unaddressed problems, including poverty, can mutate rapidly into global terrorism, which we are also witnessing. This flow of ideas also led to increasing importance of global human rights and propagation of idea of democracy. Let me recall an experience. When I was traveling recently in an aircraft in USA from New Delhi to Chicago, it took 16 hours. I was told that much of it controlled were software driven, most probably developed in India. When I presented my credit card, I was told that it was being processed in the back-end server located at Mauritius. When I walked to the multinational software company in Bangalore, I was fascinated to find that truly presented a multicultural environment. A software developer from China, working under the project leader from Korea, working with the software engineer from India, and a hardware architect from US, and the communication expert from Germany were all working together to solve the bagging problem of Australia. When I see all of them working together as one family, forgetting about the culture from which they came or language. University is a partner in economic development. University is a partner in economic development. First, I would like to discuss research, teaching research. Friends, university education in India in the present century will be in a competitive environment where research and teaching are to be focused. India has a number of IITs, Institutes of Science, and many universities having arts, science colleges, professional colleges, commerce and humanities, and programs of learning depending upon their aptitude. In this environment, universities have to promoting research, teaching research. Good teaching emanates from research. The teachers' love for research and their experience in research are vital for the growth of the institution. Any university is judged by the level and extent of the research work it accomplishes. This sets in regenerative cycle of excellence. And in turn enriches the research. I am sure Tirthankar Mahavir University's mission is research, teaching and research. Technology, friends, is a technology non-linear tool available to humanity which can affect fundamental changes in the ground rules of the economic competitiveness. Science linked to the technology through application. Technology is linked to economy and environment through manufacture of knowledge products. Economy and environment are linked to technology, which promotes prosperity to the society. We have to use innovation to generate high value added product for becoming the global player. The foundation for academic research is creativity. Now friends, I would like to present my experience of learning system design, system integration and system management, which I acquired while I was a student 5 decades ago, like you. I was nearly 5 decades ago. I was a student in Madras Institute of Technology, 1954 to 57, in engineering, aeronautical engineering. There, I met a professor, Professor Srinivasan, who is famous for aero design. He gave us a 6-month project, that is to design, develop, and see, design, bring out a design on a low-level attack aircraft. And we were 6 people, one from aerodynamics, another person structure, another from control and guidance, another from electronics, another from material. All of us worked together for 5 months, and my teacher one day from Srinivasan entered into our laboratory and saw. He gave a very bad report. He said the design has not advanced so far and is hopeless, and he said, so in a month time it will not be done. Since I am the leader of the group, he said the scholarship will be terminated. So we all worked very hard. Next 1 month, all the 6 of us, and brought out a beautiful design. In those days we did not have computer, we used the slide rules and big drawing boards. We brought design drawing and calculation. 6 months my teacher, Professor Srinivasan, landed there. He appreciated the whole design. He said we have done a good job. And the most important thing on that day, we all realized, we knew as a student how to design, how to system design, system integration and system management. It's very important when you graduating student, when you go to this campus, everyone will be asking you system design, system integration and system management. So friends, with this, I would like to say that's very important for you to understand system design, system integration, system management, and also faculty of TMC, TMU should work for that, bringing multi-disciplines together. Now in the knowledge economy, the objective of society changes from fulfilling the basic needs of all-round development to empowerment. The education system will be promoted by creating interactive and self-learning formal and informal education with focus on values, merit and quality. The workers, instead of being skilled, will be a knowledgeable, self-empowered and flexibly skilled. The type of work, instead of being structured and hardware-driven, will be less structured and software-driven. Management style will emphasize more on delegation rather than giving command. Impact on environment and ecology will be strikingly less compared to industrial economy. Finally, the economy will mostly be driven by knowledge driven by institutions and industries. The emphasis in knowledge society will be a sustainable development. Now friends, when you graduate, go out of this campus of TMU, what type of opportunities are waiting for you? I am going to give you 10 pillars of development for the nation. A nation where the rural and urban divide is reduced to a thin line. A nation